are your math skills, especially when it comes to investments? Well, guess what? We have a tutor. We have Ken Butsey here, as usual, who unwinds everything and helps us figure everything out. You're going to talk about how to help us figure out mathematically what's a good investment, what's not a good investment.
Well, what we have a lot of times is people will come into the office and they'll say something like, I just can't figure this out. I don't understand why a certain indices has this return and I'm not getting this kind of return.
What, for everybody out there, what's an indices?
Just, for instance, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is an index, or the S&P 500,
okay.
right? Maybe they'll get their account statement and it'll compare it to a certain index or whatnot.
I see.
And what we often find is that the way that they're in their mind, the way that they're calculating isn't the way that investments are actually calculated. So I can walk you through a quick example if you like. Okay. Let's say, for instance, you start with $100. And in the first year, you got a 50% return, which is pretty good, right?
Does that ever happen?
Sure.
And look, we've got this up here.
Oh, wow.
I love this screen.
Okay, so at the end of the year, you got a 50% return.
Okay.
The next year, you didn't do so hot. You lost 50%.
Okay.
The next year after that, you got 50%. You lost 50%. You got 50%. So after 5 years, you had a positive 50%. So if you take 50%, divide that by 5, you get a 10% return, right?
Pretty good.
Okay, but let's find out what happened to your money, though. Your money, you had $100, you went to 150, you dropped down to 75, you went up to 112, you dropped down to 56, and you ended at 84. So you lost money. What in fact happened is, even though the average, the arithmetic return on your money was 10%, what you actually did is you lost 3.34% each year. And a lot of people mess that up when they're calculating the returns. But more importantly, they don't understand what they're comparing it to, how it's calculated. And so all of these different indices that are out there have a different methodology in how they're calculated.
So what's the right way to calculate?
The geometric way. The way that you're going to end up with a negative 3.34 is the right way to calculate it.
I know. Okay, so how does the average person figure out how to do that?
Well, a lot of times companies are doing it for them now on their statements, and there's a financial calculator that you can do it. There's a mathematical formula that you can use. I usually carry around a calculator such as this, which is a functional calculator, which can make but
okay.
What I'm trying to convey to people is a total understanding of why something may not be working out as well as they thought it was in their mind. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, because I'll go and I'll look at the statement and I'll think, oh, good, and then in reality it's not there, and then you get upset.
So I think a few shows ago we discussed really quickly a behavioral scientist group that studies investment returns called Dalbar. Okay.
Yes.
And one of the studies that they have out there shows that the average mutual fund investor over a 20-year period of time has basically had a very low rate of return, 1 or 2% return, whereas the S&P 500, for instance, has had an 8% return. Okay. I happen to believe in another theory as to why investors don't do well, and that's called the odd lot theory, which states that when things are going really well, the investor wants to get in, and that's when they want to buy in. And so what's happening is, because they don't have huge amounts of dollars, they're buying small lots at a time.
Okay.
And there are some of us who believe that can be a bearish sign, because the small investor makes bad decisions. And the opposite is true. When we get someone in the office and we say, hey, things look good right now for this sector. For instance, a couple of years ago, you may not have thought, okay, well, we should be putting our money into whatever, large cap stocks, I'm just making that up, because they were low, and you couldn't get investors to say this is a good time to put it in. They oh no, that's been losing 30%.
So it's reversed.
40%.
It's like when it's low, that's when you want to get in, right? Because then it's going to go up.
Well, in theory, that's what you would hope, is that you're buying something that has depressed so much for whatever reasons,
right,
that hopefully you're trying to buy at the bottom. And what I'm saying, these studies have proven that small investors historically haven't been doing that, and I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. They're not calculating their returns correctly. They don't understand how they're calculated, what they're measuring against. They don't understand how those are calculated, and they get caught up in emotions.
I'm not calculating anything. Okay, so if you're not into calculating, you might want to give Ken Butsey a call, because clearly you got this thing you're carrying around in your pocket. And to do that, you call him at 216 751-4229, or go to your website at integrityfirstplanners.com. As always, you're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned because we have more of Can You Relate coming up.
Next, the doctor will see you now. We'll prescribe how to make the most of your time together. Then, can you talk about a topic too much? Coach Kathy suggests a solution for settling a sore subject.